All right, listeners, we're gonna dive right in.
We're.
My name's Ari Wojciech.
My name's Casey,
and this is
The Ticket.
Today is much like episode 29. It is October 12th.
It's October 12th.
15:36 p.m. 15:3600 hours.
15:36 p.m.
Year of our you know what I say.
We don't have to skip all of it.
Casey and I are we're trying a new thing where we record 2 episodes in a day to like streamline our lives.
Yeah.
Get our lives in order.
Yeah. We're just so busy right now. We're just busy.
I mean, yeah.
Or I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think
maybe we're not busy.
I don't think we're like empty busy. And do you know what I mean? Like I think
empty busy. What does that mean?
I think the word busy gets thrown on a lot when it's like when you're trying to get out of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm always like, Ari, do you want to hang out? And he's like, I'm busy.
Yeah, but it's like I think I'd like to start saying like I'm doing this instead.
Sure.
Or I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
You know, which is like more like I think being that specific helps me like stay in line with like my larger goals, you know.
Sure.
Or maybe I'm full of shit. I don't know.
I think both can be true.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
But yeah. So here we are. Same day, same outfits.
Same outfits.
Hello.
But you won't be seeing this for a while. Yeah, it'll be a chunk of time between 29 and 30.
Yeah.
Because we're recording the anniversary episode.
We're in the past.
We're in the past. By the time you listen to this, the anniversary episode will have happened. It will come out.
You're in the future.
Hello. Meet George Jetson.
What message do you want to send to your future self?
Whoa. I hope you have a Substack post up, Casey. I hope you're listening to this for fun and you're like, yeah, I did get a Substack post up.
That's cool.
Thanks.
I love that.
Thank you.
What message do I want to send? Ari, stick to your laurels. Stick to your guns.
Stick to your laurels?
Is that the right use of the word laurels? I use a lot of words wrong, huh?
I don't know what a laurel is. I've heard that
like
before.
Don't rest on your laurels. That's a phrase that people say. Do you mind looking that up?
Oh, of course.
Laurels. Laurels. And listeners, if you catch Ari misusing a word, go off. Let me know.
Honor or praise awarded for achievement is a laurel.
So when people say rest on your laurels, do they mean like, oh, you got praised and now you're lazy? Like you achieved something and now you're... I see.
Yes. Rest on one's laurels. Be so satisfied with what one has already achieved that one makes no further effort.
I see.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing to do.
I was misusing the word laurel just now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this still applies. Like, yeah, Ari, I hope you're not resting on your laurels.
Yeah.
You've been productive. You've like set certain boundaries, and don't let that be an excuse to fuck around and lose sight of what you really want. Yeah.
Great message, Ari.
Yeah.
I hope future Ari is not doing that.
Yeah, I hope future Ari hears that and is like, right on.
Right on.
Or he feels bad. It's like, fuck.
It's like, I disappointed my past self. Yikes.
Yeah,
Yikes.
If my 13-year-old self found out what I'm doing today at 33,
yeah,
would he be like, thank God, or would he be like, fuck?
I think, and not to make this a whole thing, I think my younger self would be very disappointed in myself, and he'd be like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean,
we're an accountant. Sorry.
No. Yeah, I don't know.
I think you would.
You think yours would be disappointed?
Yeah, he was like, we were supposed to be a veterinarian or a famous rock star. Now you work in an office.
A veterinarian or a rock star?
I wanted to be a veterinarian. It depends on how far back you go. I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then if we go like 10 years, I wanted to be a musician.
Right.
So,
what happened to the musician thing?
well, what literally happened was my band fell apart, and then I stopped writing music. And then I lost my passion for music. But I never really...
Do you regret any of this?
No.
Well, that's good.
To be honest, no. I mean, it was replaced with filmmaking, so it's not like I completely gave up artistic endeavors.
Yeah.
But I never really felt like I was good at music anyway. So,
interesting.
You know,
That's
I was
fair.
fine with letting it go.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I guess if the passion was really there, you would have kept going.
People keep telling me that.
Ouch. Speaking of which, listeners, as you know, we're trying out this new like format, and part of it is Casey and I keep each other accountable. But since we are now doing 2 episodes in a day,
right,
we obviously already checked in on what we're doing, where we're at. And so now I would like to talk about like the craft of filmmaking, the art of filmmaking, and kind of where we are in either our process, like creative process of how we think we go about making a movie, or like themes we want to explore or filmmakers that we'd like to emulate, that sort of thing. And today, Casey, what filmmakers do you hope to emulate as a filmmaker?
I can't remember if I brought it up on the podcast. I think I have. I've got a little Mount Rushmore of creatives on my wall, like above my writing space.
Yeah.
I just recently got a portrait of John Cassavetes.
Fuck yeah.
Who is someone that I really admire, despite not loving his movies. I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of those people. He can always get a good performance out of somebody, and I think that comes with being an actor. I think he's great. I think I'd probably take from his process, like having a script, having a plan, and then being okay with that faltering.
Yeah, totally.
Should a great performance come out. Someone I really love is Peter Bogdanovich. I think
yes,
fantastic. He's like my favorite director. I love nearly all of his movies. And I think it's because we have a lot of the same sensibilities. Like I was talking to someone, and they were like, "What kind of movies would you make?" And I was like, "Probably romance films." Like I could see myself like just making many. And I think that's what I like so much about Peter Bogdanovich is that all of his films are romance films, but with a different kind of dressing. I don't know. Amongst a lot of other people, Amy Sherman Palladino is one. She kind of falls in the same category as Peter Bogdanovich, the same way. She's very tender, and she has such a passion for like human emotion. Like so much of her stuff is about like the stakes are made in wants and desires and not really anything else.
She's the woman who did You Hurt My Feelings?
No, Amy Sherman Palladino is Gilmore Girls and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and stuff. Yeah. Nicole Holofcener is also on there. Nicole Holofcener did You Hurt My Feelings.
She's great.
It's the same thing. She's got such a way with dialogue. She's so realistic. It's kind of crazy how everyone just talks like a normal person. I mean, it's just incredible. I can't even believe it. Like, I think Amy Sherman Palladino has she has such a passion for classic films that all of her characters kind of speak that way, regardless of setting.
That's like a big theme in Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's kind of what makes the Gilmore Girls what they are. Like, if they were accurate to 2005, whatever, I don't think that it would resonate as much. I think part of it is how
Heightened the world
yeah,
is. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
And I think Bogdanovich is the same way. I think Cassavetes operates in a heightened version of the present day. But yeah, I mean, Nicole Holofcener just hits these beats that I wish I could understand.
Like how to pull off.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
there's a great. Have you seen You Hurt My Feelings?
No,
It's
I'm
fantastic.
terrible.
It's like it's a stoner comedy for me. Like I just get high and watch it. It's
Oh,
so
fuck
fucking
yeah.
funny. But it's heart wrenching.
I mean, the premise is hilarious.
The premise is hilarious.
Like, oh my God.
And then you know there's these scenes where it's like, oh wow, yeah, actually that would really suck. But you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has this line where she's like, I don't know if I can ever look him in the face again.
Yeah, for listeners who haven't seen it, it's about Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a famous writer, and her latest book is about to be released, and she overhears her husband, right?
Yeah, her husband.
Shit on it.
Yeah.
Basically, he's like, I don't like it, and he's
Yeah.
been lying to her.
Yeah.
Basically.
And that's what's so. I'm not going to talk about the movie, but there are moments in that movie that are fucked up, where it's like you know that you're lying to her.
Fuck.
But all those, I think it's her best movie yet because all of those characters are so well done. I love Enough Said. It's a
Enough
perfect
Said
romance
is
film.
great.
Yeah,
I love Enough Said. I think James Gandolfini in that is such a marvel, and his chemistry with Julia Louis-Dreyfus I think is so fun.
it's incredible. Like that's like the best romance film of the 21st century. I feel like I think it's like
okay, yeah.
oh yeah, because you know what it is. I think people are so afraid, which is what I think people liked about La La Land. Romance films are afraid of like creating characters that don't like aspects of the other one. Like what I find so poignant about Enough Said is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus can fucking suck, and James Gandolfini is like, that's really mean, you really hurt me. And there's no like resolution for that. It's just that you did a really awful thing.
Yeah.
In so many romance films, they make the conflict so heightened that it makes sense for the two people to be apart, but it doesn't make any sense for them to come together.
Sure.
And I think Nicole Holofcener leaving that up to the audience makes a lot more sense. That seems a lot more realistic.
Devastating. Yeah.
And it's
totally.
it's devastating.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Enough Said. I need to rewatch that.
Great film.
Can.
And then there are other people, you know, I think M. Night Shyamalan's great. But I could never see myself doing something so large in scope. I think all of his films are so big.
Even like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable,
Yeah.
Signs. I mean, I guess Signs is like global to a degree.
Sure, yeah. Just like maybe Sixth Sense. I think his interpersonal relationships are great.
Yeah,
which we talked about.
Yeah. He's so good at that.
Yeah. So I don't know, but these are all people that I would like copy. I get inspiration from.
Dude, this is a great list, man. I can't wait to see what you do.
You're gonna be waiting a long time, Ari.
I mean, that's all right.
Thanks.
People, you're on your own time, you know.
So true.
Yeah, filmmakers I would emulate. Honestly, like, it's a cliche for a reason, but I love Billy Wilder.
Hell yeah.
I think the savagery he judges people. Like
Yeah.
I don't think he's that like I think Otto Preminger like something like Anatomy of a Murder.
Yeah.
I think that film was very objective.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like these are the people, these are the circumstances, and you can kind of like make your own judgments. But the
Yeah.
movie is like completely unbiased.
Yeah.
I think something like Ace in the Hole is just fucking Kirk Douglas is a dick.
Yeah.
And he it lets you know that at the gate.
Yeah.
And watching him spiral into the darkness is just so heart-wrenching. And there's always this like bite of humor in everything he does. Even in The Lost Weekend, which is like a bleak movie about an alcohol. It was the first film to really paint alcoholism as a disease. Before that, alcoholism was very much like a joke, and the drunk was played for laughs. But Billy Wilder's Lost Weekend was the first movie to really depict addiction, and it just fucked people up. But there's still this like really biting humor,
Sure,
throughout it, and I think that's so cool. I think he really feels like a filmmaker who didn't take himself too seriously, but still held a very high standard for the story and the shot composition. He always used as minimal coverage as possible, and not in like a sloppy master, like we're only like covering the scenes in masters, but in a very like classical, elegant way. And I think that's so like the camera never drew attention to itself, and I think that's so cool. Yeah, I love Billy Wilder. And I love that he was a writer and director, but he always had a co-writer. And I think I would love to get to that place, like finding somebody that I can write alongside. I think co-writing is a very difficult thing.
it is.
Like I haven't really found anybody that I've been able to do that with yet regularly. And I really admire his ability to do that. And sorry, I'm just going off. I love Billy Wilder. I think he's so inspiring. Listeners at home, if you don't know who Billy Wilder is, he was an Austrian immigrant. He immigrated to the States, I think, in like the 40s, outbreak of World War II. Lost his family to the Holocaust, which I just found out recently. And he started out as a screenwriter and worked primarily with a director named Ernst Lubitsch, who was like his hero. And then he went on to write and direct his own pictures throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even 70s, I think. But
He did Some Like It Hot,
he did
Sunset
Something Like That.
Boulevard.
Yes. Yeah. The Apartment. Movies we've talked about in the podcast before. And yeah, I think he possesses this just humanity that I would love to capture in my own work. And yeah, and I think I've already said this, but his ability to find humor in every single movie, I think, is really inspiring. And yeah, he's a filmmaker that's been really on my mind. And when it comes to like, especially now that I'm like editing, it's like, how can I make this as clean as possible and just like really service the story?
Yeah, I mean, he's great. It's interesting because I've seen so many directors who do like a master, OTS, whatever, and sorry, over the shoulder, whatever. And then they'll be like, maybe let's get some close-ups, coverage, exactly, coverage.
Yeah.
And it's just funny, especially I think that became a lot more prevalent with digital filmmaking, where it didn't always used to be that way. Like it used to be so meticulous.
Yeah.
and nothing was wasted.
Because you couldn't.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you just couldn't like.
We're about to go over budget. If you start to, yeah.
Yeah, dump truck directing is what one of my friends calls it. When a director just like, just shoots every angle possible.
Yeah.
For every scene without any real consideration of like the story or the mood.
Because you know what? It starts to get so plain. And
Yeah.
even really great, even directors who are highly praised today, a lot of what is being praised isn't necessarily visual. A lot of it is like recurring themes and the writing.
And the performances.
Yeah, and the performances, yeah. And a lot of it, you know, we have so many movies where even if they're really, really great, they're not really doing anything inspired in the blocking or the shot comps or anything like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I realize that I literally just said that I wasn't writing anything at all. Like I acknowledge that, but also
you can have taste.
Thank you. I don't have taste either, but
no, that's not true. No, it's crazy. Like, because I'll watch a movie like, so Anyone But You and 10 Things I Hate About You, both like rom-com Shakespeare adaptations. I think 10 Things is a little, well, they're both heightened in their own way. 10 Things just takes place in a high school, which I think kind of separates it in terms of feel. But you watch 10 Things I Hate About You, and the coverage in that is just so beautiful. Like, the camera is really capitalizing on every opportunity to tell as much story as possible within the frame. And Anyone But You is so often just like cutting to these like singular shots where it's like there's only one piece of story in the frame, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But when it's all you're doing, it's like, it's just so sad. It's like this really, there's just so many moments that feel like such a wasted opportunity. There's one scene in Anyone But You where Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney are getting into an argument, and Glenn Powell has just drank a bunch of coffee because I guess the coffee in Australia is very good. And he's hopped up like he's on cocaine. He's like super energetic. And the editor has to keep cutting to these like awkward wide shots to capture his full body language. And then it comes back to these close-ups and like medium shots. And then it comes back to the wide when he like makes a big gesture. And it's just like, there's a version of this where you're not doing any cutting and you're just letting the performances like live. And it's just so sad. Cause like every time you cut, you're either like, actually, sorry, I was like about to say something impulsive that I'm not sure if I agree with, but I think the cut should always be used in a way to reinforce the type of energy you are trying to capture. And I think a lot of times the cut can like kind of suck the air out of the chemistry between the actors. And I think filmmaking is kind of this balance of time and behavior. And in this instance, I mean like chemistry between the two actors, right? Time and the chemistry between the two actors. And I think cutting, you can do a wonderful job of shaping the type of pace you want, independent of whatever the performers did that day. But I think if you're a good filmmaker, you can set the performers up. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm talking out of my ass right now.
No, it's okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, I think you can, there's a way to like find a balance where you're not only relying on the edit to make a scene, you know? And yeah, I think that craft is lost, kind of.
Absolutely. What's so interesting about you saying that, I was noticing like in the movie that we're about to talk about, there's a moment where a character does something, but they're in a what do they call that?
Medium.
Yeah, they're in a medium. And but what the character is doing, he's moved his hand to his waist, and you can't see what he's doing, but you know what he's doing in the context of the scene. This isn't about like jerking off or anything, but he's pulling out a gun. He's pulling out a gun, and you don't need to see it, but I think if you made that scene today, there'd be either a close up or a wide.
Yeah.
And there's no real reason for it.
Right. Right. Totally. No, this is a great example. Yeah.
And with comedy, especially, that the studio comedy's fucked. It's fucked, guys. The same thing. It's just chopped to shreds. Trying to make every joke make sense when you can do it for more bang for your buck, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also another thing, like exactly what we were talking about earlier. People think that directing is visuals and actor performances, but it's also the knowledge of the edit and it's knowledge of the sound design on top of being like the eyes of the set. But I think there's a lot more that goes into a movie, that when you have a really good movie that is kind of mediocre in other areas, it's like, oh, that's right. The director should also be doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the thing. I feel like movies get a pass. Like yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but there are so many things you can kind of fumble and still put out a passable movie, you know?
Absolutely.
And also, like, I think there are people who are like, well, who gives a shit? Like, anyone but use like a silly rom-com. Like,
I hate when people say that.
Yeah, me too. I think that is so reductive. I like, just because it's a superhero movie, just because it's a rom-com, doesn't mean you shouldn't try to tell the story in the most affecting way possible.
Absolutely.
Like, there's so, like, I think filmmaking is such a beautiful art form because the opportunities are everywhere. Every piece of equipment, every like person involved is an opportunity to like elevate this story. Like, and if you're not taking it, why not? Like, why the fuck not? Like, do you just not care? Like, it frustrates me so much. Like, yeah.
No, I agree. Because there used to be a time where, I mean, people always talk about we need to bring rom-coms back. Rom-coms need a renaissance. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because they used to be good. People used to put effort into them.
Yeah.
You know, and they say that about so many other genres. They say it about fucking everything. But the same thing. My friend of the podcast, JJ, asked me to make a list of the best movies ever. I put Sam Raimi's Spider-Man on there because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's the only superhero movie I have on there. And it's the same thing. Okay, it's a guy in tights flying around, and it's well made.
Yeah.
And it's very emotionally affecting.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing.
I mean, talk about a movie that's like not afraid to be romantic.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
the stakes of that movie are just, how do I get with Mary Jane?
Yeah, but it's like, so I'm there. I'm right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because he does such a beautiful job of crafting the world. And
yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. He's great. And like, his action scenes, like that train sequence in the second one, masterful. Like, the way he establishes geography and it just keeps ratcheting up the tension is just, it's masterful.
I went to a, since you know where we live, I recently went to Beyond Fest.
Hell yeah.
And they did a triple feature of his, all 35. He did a Q&A after. It was a whole Sunday.
Part of it?
No, it was Darkman, The Quick and the Dead, Drag Me to Hell.
Nice.
which was fucking rad.
Dude, I want to see Quick and the Dead so bad.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like my favorite movie of his, pretty much.
It's the Western starring Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Sharon
yeah.
Stone's the main character.
Sharon Stone. Yeah.
Yeah, that cast is stacked. My friend had never seen it. Friend of the podcast, Brie, had never seen it. She's sitting on my right, and the credits are coming by, opening credits, and she's like, "Oh my god, because it's like Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, Keith David, fucking who's the other guy? Tobin Bell. Fucking like
wait,
it
Tobin
just
Bell,
keeps going,
fucking Candyman.
Tony Todd is Candyman.
Tony Todd.
Tobin Bell isn't Tobin Bell Saw? Isn't Tobin Bell Jigsaw?
Oh, yep. I'm a fucking idiot.
Right?
Yeah. At least I got the genre.
Oh yeah. No, you had it.
Wow.
But what I was thinking when I was watching Quick and the Dead specifically, because I've seen it more than Darkman and Drag Me to Hell, he's everybody thinks that he's silly. Everybody thinks that his filmmaking is stupid, but he has mastered melodrama. Every Sam Raimi movie have heightened the emotions, and his filmmaking allows for romance and action because he's not afraid to take big swings like that. You know what I mean? Like the best part, talking about the train sequence in Spider-Man. Is that Spider-Man 2?
Yep.
Train sequence in Spider-Man 2 is that he establishes the geography, right? You know they're on a train, but he does that really great where Peter looks and he does like, I can't remember if it's a pan out.
Oh, like
or,
that crazy crash zoom.
Yeah,
of the end of the track.
Yeah. And then you're just like, oh fuck.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. He like.
I mean, that's how it works.
Because oh my god. Yeah, it's so good. I mean, it just goes back to that whole thing of Hitchcock and Truffaut, the like legendary interview where Hitchcock is like, there are two types of scenes. There's the scene where there's a scene where people are talking at a diner and suddenly the restaurant explodes. Or two people are talking in a diner and you see a ticking bomb at the bottom under the table. And you see that it has a minute left.
Right.
And suddenly there's this tension.
Yeah.
There's either tension or a surprise.
Yeah.
And tension tends to be more dramatic, right?
Yeah.
And I think the best action sequences are a combination of both. And like him establishing that the train is about to go over the edge long before it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah, that's the great bit with Darkman. Because that's another one. It's so romantic. You know, everything's going fine. Fuck, what is her name?
I've never seen Darkman. I'm horrible.
Fucking she's the lead in Nomadland.
Oh, the Coens, Lady Macbeth. Fucking
I'm blanking on her name. Holy shit. Florence.
No. Frances McDormand.
Oh my god. That's so embarrassing. I love her. I love her. No. It just fell out of my head.
That's so funny. Have you seen the short film Willem Dafoe by Christopher Bogley?
Oh no, I haven't.
Writer and director of Dream Scenario that just came out this past year, which I also have not seen.
Oh, banger.
But his short film Willem Dafoe is literally just about a guy who can't remember the name of an actor. And it's what you just went through for like.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's like so stupid, but I've watched the short film like 10 times. It's so brilliant.
That's so good.
Anyway.
Frances
McDormand, Darkman.
Right. So it's Frances McDormand and Liam Neeson is Darkman. And they're in a relationship, and they're very much in love. And Frances McDormand very offhandedly is like, I got this weird memo. I'm going to talk to my boss about it. This memo is really weird. I think something's up. And she's leaving for work, and Liam Neeson is like, let's get married. And she's like, whoa. And he's like, we spent so much time together. We're in love. Let's get married. And then quite literally that night, he's transformed into Darkman. He's tortured. The shit's beat out of him, and he's thrown into a vat of acid, and he's blown up. But the way they do it is that the guys come in, they're beating up Liam Neeson, and in the middle of this action scene, like he's doing some crazy stuff. He does a thing where Liam Neeson's getting his head smashed into a cabinet. So they do his head smashed in from the back, and then he does 2 more cabinets where the camera's facing the door, basically, like the inside of the cabinet.
Yeah.
So then you just see Liam Neeson's face like like it's great. It's great. It's fantastic. And then it does a hard cut, and Frances McDormand's walking to his office, and she's like, you know, what am I gonna say? Like, and then quite literally in that moment, the windows blow out right above her, and it's like it's the exact same thing. He does it in Spider-Man. He does it in Drag Me to Hell. Like, exactly that. Everything's so heightened, and then you're like, oh man, Liam Neeson's about to die, and then you go, oh, and she wants to get married.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like setups and payoffs.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is an art form. You can't just throw it in there.
Yeah. And it is a tightrope walk. Like what we're talking about is really difficult.
And it's hard.
Like, yeah, and just
it's hard, but I also don't think that you should reward people who don't do it and don't care about doing it, which I feel like a lot of movies are, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever.
Anyway, fucking A. Anyway, these are the kind of movies we want to make. Baby.
Yeah, we want to make good movies.
Yes. yeah, exactly.
I'd love to make a good movie.
What a dream. But anyway, we're about to talk about a movie that has been deemed good.
We sure are.
By Criterion, anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And I would say
the
deemed
masses.
good by the masses, by us, by me and you.
I think I have some opinions about it.
Oh.
Welcome to another edition of
Criterion Casey.
Woo!
Hi everybody, I'm Casey.
Hello, Casey.
I went to pull up the Criterion page and I just saw Rest on Your Laurels, and I already forgot that we talked about that. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go into it.
Yeah, go crazy.
All right. Scanners is our movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I usually do a lead up. Scanners is our movie.
No, this is great.
It's directed by David Cronenberg. Came out in 1981. We were talking about where it rests in his filmography.
Mm-hmm.
It's his first big budget feature. It's right after The Brood. And it's right before Videodrome, which transformed his career. So 1981. It's spine number 712. And it's starring who is it? Stephen Lack. I'm sorry. Stephen Lack. Michael Ironside is our delicious villain.
Oh, he's so good. He's actually really good.
He's really great in it. Supporting cast: Jennifer O'Neill, Patrick McGowan.
Who I also think is good.
He's very good.
He plays the old doctor.
Yeah.
Also, spoilers will abound.
Oh yeah,
this
spoilers.
Movie is full of spoilers.
Massive
so spoilers.
Massive spoilers. We gotta talk about everything.
Yes.
Why don't you go first, Ari? What'd you think?
Well, yeah. So the movie centers around.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No. The movie centers around these individuals who suffer from telepathy, and they can affect the people around them, often to a negative degree. And it's very debilitating. Like they constantly have thoughts in their other people's thoughts in their mind. Oftentimes they are either unhoused or like in some sort of institution because they just haven't been able to adjust, and nobody's been able to give them resources to figure out what's going on. And the movie centers around Cameron Vale, a young man who is homeless. And then at the beginning of the film, he accidentally causes a woman to basically have a seizure, and he is then chased by these like shady government officials and is basically kidnapped and then put in this institution, only to find out that he is one of many telepathic beings known as scanners, and there is an underground community of scanners that are hell-bent on basically upending society.
Yeah, the scanners, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cameron is then recruited by not the U.S. government, but by some
like a
corporation,
private, yeah,
to fight this underground group of scanners, and chaos ensues. It's bug nuts.
It's crazy.
I like one thing I will say is it's a movie that drops you right in the deep end and it's all gas, no brakes. It does not get you like you either are with it or you're not in the best way, I think. Great body horror stuff. The like telepathy manifests in a really like gross, like hyper vascular way. Like they get into these like telepathic battles at the end and their faces get all fucked up. And it's interesting because like the rules of it are like kind of ambiguous. So like suddenly things will catch on fire, things will start melting around them, and yeah, it's fucking wild.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's just a bug nuts 80s sci-fi horror. Also, like I have watched Stranger Things. Did not realize how much it is ripping off this movie.
Sure.
It's crazy.
With 11?
Yeah.
I've only seen the first season.
And even the score, which I have to say, the score for Scanners fucking slaps.
It's incredible. It's really great how, and this is going to sound so fucking stupid and obvious, but I love they make the sound design for when people are scanning. It sounds like a scan.
Yep.
And it sounds like you are also being scanned.
It feels feels terrible.
Yeah, it's just like this high pitched like tone, and then there's usually like some reverberation, like a vibration.
And then you'll start to hear the people who are getting scanned. You'll like hear their thoughts, but it's like warbled and morphed. And just, it makes you want to gag.
Which is so great because besides that one scene, the introduction to Michael Ironside, there's not really a lot of effects around scanning. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of the actors doing their interpretation of what they think scanning feels like.
Yeah, it's all like very auditory and like shot composition stuff, but it's not like the body horror elements until the very end.
Yeah. And it's fantastic. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? What were we talking about? I mean,
the sound design and like what scanning feels like. Yeah,
it's just fantastic.
About like a film that really takes every opportunity it can.
Yeah.
To elevate and like develop the story.
Yeah.
I think Scanners really does try. At least it takes a big swing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I respect that a lot. I do think. One of the things I do love about the film is it really, you talk about, so there's that famous South Park class or like interview where the two, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they like give a writing class, and they're like, if you break down your story into like beats and there's only the word "and" in between them, you're fucked. It's a boring story. So like, Jack does this, and Jack does this, and Jill does that, etc. They were like, the key to good storytelling is but, or, therefore. So like, Jack does this, therefore Jill does this, but that makes Jack do this. And it's like, and I think Scanners is that. It's just this constant like, this is happening, oh, but that makes this happen, therefore like this happened. And it just like keeps escalating.
Yeah.
But in a really like ragged, shambly way that doesn't feel super calculated, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what's so great, I was thinking this during the scene where they decide what they're going to do in response to, like, the very beginning.
Yeah.
They build that so well. So the first scene is our main character. We don't know he's the main character.
Yeah.
Is our main character. And
Cameron.
Mm-hmm. And he's kidnapped. He makes this woman have a seizure, which is... I love watching movies without knowing anything about them because I think that really great movies capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that you can watch a movie and there's like, oh, you don't know this is going to happen? You haven't seen the trailer? Here you go.
Yes.
And you get the ride from the beginning. I feel like a lot of movies don't start the ride until the second act.
Totally. Yeah, and this is a movie that immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't know he's the main character. You don't know what scanning is. You don't even really know what's going on. But this guy is in a mall. This woman starts having a seizure. And then for whatever reason, these guys start chasing this guy because this woman's having a seizure. It doesn't make any sense. So then he's kidnapped. And then it's the introduction to the idea of scanning. He's got this doctor. The doctor brings all these people into his... it's a makeshift hospital room. He's in this warehouse.
This
Falling down warehouse. And and the guy is freaking out because you can hear everybody's thoughts.
Mhm.
You hear everybody's thoughts. And then, sorry to say, and then, but but then the next scene is a completely new set of characters.
Yeah.
And it's this I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. And it's this like medical symposium. Basically, it's a man who's saying, I am going to teach you about scanning.
Yeah.
And he picks this guy out of the audience, and you don't know he's our villain. It's the introduction to this villain.
Yes. Yeah. Go.
So he's like, let's get this guy. Let's say you don't know who Michael Ironside is. A lot of people don't. He picks this guy. He sits down, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna scan you now. And instead, his head explodes.
Fucking crazy.
His head falls apart on his shoulders.
The guy who says he's gonna scan Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside starts scanning him. And
which
you
you don't quite understand at first.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And like that's such a great moment of like two birds, one stone. Because I think like a weaker film, it would have just been like an exposition scene divorced from the plot. But instead they like use the exposition scene to introduce the villain and then further the plot. Because then it's like, oh shit, the guy who was like doing the demonstration was the only scanner that was employed by the company.
Right.
And suddenly Michael Ironside just like murdered him in the worst way possible.
Right.
And
it's the idea that scanning can be used for evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, oh, the telepathy can be really bad, actually.
Yeah. It's not just this.
This ability that you have. And then the next scene is the introduction or further fleshing out of the doctor.
Yeah.
And the introduction of our basically like our goon, our second to the bad guy. Which this is a perfect segue. When I saw Crimes of the Future, I'm getting to a point, I promise. When I saw Crimes of the Future, David Cronenberg's he has a new film coming out, his latest film. I hadn't realized how good he is at world building. All of his films exist in a version of our modern society, and it's what he introduces that is always so weird and crazy. You know what I mean? So with Scanners, it's so great because really what the movie is this what I call it, a spy thriller. Like it's like this, like with this added component that they can blow people's brains up.
Yeah.
Which is so great for that board meeting scene where you've got a guy who wants to destroy the scanner project. He decides that or he wants to fight the subsect of this corporation that is funding scanner research. And the doctor is just like, we don't know anything. It doesn't really make any sense to leave this by the wayside, which is the inciting incident of the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Because now they're gonna go out and hunt this evil scanner.
Yeah, but it's so great because that's something that's real and true. You have people who, at least in that point in the movie, you have people who just want different allocation of funds or things like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's like a real board meeting. And these are real people who are being studied and tested and all that kind of stuff. But I think David Cronenberg is specifically good at that because of how far out his ideas are.
It really feels like a proto X-Files.
Yeah.
It's just like a really big X-Files episode that in one way it's just a really big X-Files episode. In another way, it's like a season of television condensed into one movie.
Sure.
Like there's so much that happens narratively and so much that's revealed about the lore.
Yeah.
At the center of the movie.
Like that great scene where Cameron finds out that Michael Ironside Vale is his name?
Cameron
Vale.
Vale.
Cameron Vale. Sorry.
And then he's Revok.
Revok, yeah. When he finds out that Revok is manufacturing this chemical that makes people into scanners, that's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He walks in, he goes, oh no, and then walks out.
Yeah, it's like a big like plot point. But it's so great because I feel like these days people love to revel in the world building.
Yeah.
And like that kind of plot point would be like 20 minutes. But instead it's just like, no, you're smart enough to pick up on this piece of information and we're going to move on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's treated like a spy thriller. It's great.
Yeah.
All that to say.
I'm going to put my mic down because I don't have anything bad to say about the movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the more I talk about it, the more I really was taken with the film. I was never bored. I was into it. I do think this type of movie there was a charisma I didn't find in the lead, in our like hero. I thought Cameron Vale's performance, and I couldn't. What's his name? Stephen Lack. Stephen Lack. Fun fact: he's a famous painter.
Yeah,
from Canada. You can find his. I mean, he still has seems to be a thriving career as an artist.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I got the sense I was like, oh, he's not really an actor. Like the performance is very stilted and controlled, but not in a way that feels deliberate. At one point, the female lead is like, you're barely human to him. In a moment of like tension when he's like trying to help, she's like, how can you help? You're like barely human. And he does seem very like robotic. And I think the idea is that when he is finally trained on how to be a scanner and like control his telepathy, he like loses some of his humanity to like to control it, right? Which is an interesting idea. Like, I don't think that's a bad idea, but I think the way it comes across in the performance it wasn't. I wish there was more time with the villain. Do you know what I mean? Because the villain is just going ham.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of, and like by the end, there are moments where I'm like, I kind of get it, dude. Like, you're just trying to burn this whole capitalist system down.
Yeah.
And whereas the hero, it just feels like a pawn.
Sure.
Like,
yeah,
up until the end, even.
Yeah.
And that is like, that feels like a weird like disconnect, like a weird. There's like a disparity there.
Yeah.
And I just wish that lead performance was a little more. I wish it was like, this is a lame comp, but I think it's a shorthand the audience will get. Is I wish he just had more Han Solo energy. You know, because it's like he's this unhoused dude who's lived this really rough life, and he's had to survive, and then once he's like shackled up and trained, he just turns into this kind of like, he's not a wet blanket, but he's just like a piece of cardboard.
Interesting.
You know, and I like, that just felt like such a wasted opportunity. Yeah, I don't know. I think like, yeah, there's this movie called Streets of Fire. You seen that? Walter Hill.
I've never seen it, but
iconic big hair power ballad pop rock musical action film that's insane. Willem Dafoe's in it, kills it. Does such a great job. The lead actor in it, a lot of people knock the film because he similarly is just like not very charismatic, like not really like a leading man. And I think Scanners kind of suffers from that same issue.
Damn.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
It's just I don't know. I just was like, if it was, because it was the 80s, right? So
yeah.
Who was coming up at that time? Oh my God! If it was like, he was too young at this point. But imagine if Cameron was like Michael J. Fox, just like stressed out as fuck.
Sure.
Like, what the fuck is going on?
Sure.
Like an older Michael J. Fox, I think in that role would have been really compelling. He's not really Han Solo energy, but it's like I think
he would have an interesting interpretation on the journey that Cameron goes through.
Yeah. And I think he has that charisma, I think.
Sure. Because I don't think. I mean, I can't even like argue against that. Mainly, my thing is that I don't think that detracts from the film. But I do think that what I like about Cameron is that he does feel like he's just been thrown into a situation.
Sure.
Like, I think that the fact that he doesn't really have a personality, is that, it's like exactly what you said. He suppressed, all of these parts of himself, because what I find so haunting is that part where he nearly kills that guy. And there's a scene where the main doctor is trying to show Cameron how to control his telepathy.
Right.
And he gets this yogi who's like, I can control my heartbeat. So the doctor says, Cameron, you make his heart beat fast, and then he'll be able to slow it down. So don't worry about it, basically. And Cameron like tries to kill him, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And he's like, that was really easy. And then he just kind of becomes a good person after that.
Yeah,
like,
but this is what I mean. It's like, because that scene, that's where it's like a hint of like, whoa, this guy's kind of wild, and then that just disappears.
Yeah,
and I do think like somebody trying to be a good person, really compelling, but it never seemed to be like an issue for him.
Sure, yeah.
And I will say, like, as the plot develops, and you find out that like scanners exist, I mean, because of like big business, because of big pharma.
Yeah.
The fact that he's still like on their side.
Sure.
I just was like, he feels like a pawn.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely did. When he's got that great line, I find it very moving. I don't really know if it matters, but when he meets, what's her name? Oberst? The female lead.
Yes, yeah.
When he meets her, he says, what's his name? Revik? I forgot everybody's names.
Revik is the villain.
Revik is the villain. Cameron says, Dr. Ruth? Jesus,
Dr. Ruth. Yeah.
He's like, Dr. Ruth sent me to find Revik. And he says, but I didn't know about you. And she feels like that scanners can just be normal.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I was like, oh, Jesus, like, is Consec gonna be the bad guy? Like,
Consec is the company that like is funding all of this shit.
because that really feels like where Cameron falls. Exactly that. He just wants to be normal. Like, he just wants to not be mentally ill, basically.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. You bring up an interesting. I think the movie, if it suddenly turned into her movie at the halfway point, I think it would like make more sense.
Oh, I see. Sure.
And like Cameron and Revik kind of representing these two extremes.
Sure.
That she has to kind of like decide which to side with.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Because it does kind of feel like it's setting that up as the plot develops, but then she's just like a bystander.
I thought it might be the two of them taking them both down, like in a kind of like.
Yeah,
Revik
maybe
blows up Consec and everybody dies except the two.
Oh man, yeah, totally.
I don't know,
but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it says so much. I feel like exactly what you're saying, like the government, private corporations, big pharma for sure. Like, and what I think is so interesting too is like that constant theme of like what information is being held from you.
Yeah,
as like a just general bystander. And that it has an effect on people and things, and that you're always kind of a pawn in a larger scheme that you may not even know anything about.
Yeah, and again, like I think I'm just it feels like a wasted opportunity to just leave Cameron, because I guess he does destroy the corporation technically.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being like too harsh. I guess I just would have. I wish there was like a clear like big corporation, big pharma sucks.
Yeah.
Because Revik, that's what Revik is like fighting against, and like he's obviously fighting him in the worst possible, like the most violent vicious way possible for his own selfish reasons. But I can't help but like kind of be honest. Like I'm just kind of like, yeah. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like
It's-
big pharma.
It's very Professor X Magneto kind of thing.
Yeah,
I do understand
yeah.
Revok.
Yes, totally. That's
Mm.
actually a really good comp.
Thank you. I've seen X-Men.
But yeah, I've just in this instance, I think Professor X is like weak sauce. You know,
Right.
which I think does like in the best X-Men stories. I think that feeling gets in there, and it like you know.
Sure. I mean, the thing is that the same way with Cameron, Professor X is always against Magneto. So when Magneto is making points, and the things that he are fighting against, Xavier also wants to fight against. He's always going to look a little bit weak because we see that as like taking the extra step.
Yeah,
and he'll never take that extra step.
Yeah.
But I will say Cameron does that. I think Cameron. We see him as taking a route that we wouldn't have taken, but he does go to the extres to succeed.
Right. Totally. And then
I don't know if that
I
makes
guess the
sense.
aftermath, like, I mean, it's. I guess it's over.
Yeah, that's over.
Which is like, yeah, maybe I'm being too harsh. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
No, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. He's not like the most interesting guy in the world.
No. But yeah, Scanners. David Cronenberg.
Great
I've only
movie.
seen that, The Fly, and A Dangerous Method.
Interesting.
A Dangerous Method is wild.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. But
I really like Crimes of the Future. It's like this. It's about
what year did it? It's this new 2020.
22 something
Oh,
like
is
that.
it? Okay.
The new one is called The Shroud.
The Shroud. That's the one
Yeah.
about like his dead wife.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Sad.
Crimes of the Future is really great because of what I was saying about world building. It's nasty and it's weird, but really what it's about is this disabled man trying to seek treatment. It's really great. In that he's a normal guy who falls into a group of abnormal people. And I think it's just interesting. I think it's cool to talk about aging and disability in a world much like our own that doesn't really have a lot of room for people like that.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
What a beast.
he's great.
Well, right on.
Right on, buddy.
We liked this one.
We liked it.
Way
Thank
more to
goodness.
say about this one than Pygmalion.
I was thinking that like in the middle, I was like, wow, we did not talk this much about Pygmalion.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, I think Pygmalion is great, but I also just watched Scanners, so I think it's
Sure.
like fresh in my mind.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Once again, we are gonna continue our journey.
Yeah.
With Fiona Benson,
Yeah.
her collection of poetry, Vertigo and Ghosts. Today, we are gonna read Almond Blossom.
Almond Blossom.
This is Almond Blossom by Fiona Benson. This morning, love, I'm tired and grave. I can barely hear the wintered bird's small song over the hum of the central heating. We must trust, I suppose, to the song's bare minimum. That spring will be a green havoc as the trees burst their slums and the dirt breaks open to admit crocus spear and cyclamen. And though we can't yet feel it, Earth's already begun her slow incline, inch by ruined inch, easing you back from the brink.
She's really interesting.
Dude, she's great.
Yeah.
Fucking A. Fiona, you rock. Come on the podcast. She lives in like some small hamlet in England.
No.
Yeah, she's a resident there. England's crazy.
We could get her on Zoom or something.
I'll email her.
Please do.
Alrighty, folks. Right on. Thank you for listening.
Nice.
If you have made it this far and you reach out to us on Instagram at This Is The Ticket or TikTok at This Is The Ticket Pod or our Gmail, at thisistheticketpod@gmail.com
Yeah.
or Letterboxd
At This Is the Ticket.
at thisistheticket. If you're the first one to reach out to us on one of these, we will Venmo you $1. A whole $1. Or you can just comment on what you liked about the podcast. Let us know. How do you feel about scanners?
Yeah. How do you feel about Big Pharma?
Yeah, that too. If you really want to get sad. But yeah, like, subscribe if you enjoyed, as always. And I have a YouTube channel called Morons. The link will be in the show notes. Casey?
I have a Substack. It's called In Defense of Taste.
Woo!
In Defense of Taste.
In Defense of Taste.
Last episode I said In the Defense of Taste.
Oh, jeez.
In Defense of Taste. Don't subscribe to some other asshole.
Yeah. I'll find him. Convince him to change the name. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
My name is Ari Wojciech.
My name is Casey Young.
And this is
The Ticket.
Woo!